The night my son told me to pay for his family, or get out. I had already paid for the roast, the wine, the rented chairs, and the little pine garland Megan had insisted on calling real Christmas. 22 people were in Ryan's dining room, counting the children running between the kitchen island and the den. I knew the number because Megan had asked me twice whether the caterer could add 2 more plates, and whether I could handle it this time, before she finalized the order. Like the story, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, when does helping your adult kids stop being love and start becoming a bill they expect you to pay? I handled it. That had been my mistake for 3 years. My name is Harold Bennett. I was 68 that December, a retired construction estimator, a widower, and the kind of man who still checked a receipt before putting it in a drawer. After Linda died, Ryan and Megan's house became the place where I tried not to feel alone. I fixed a loose stair rail. I picked Caleb up when school closed early. I covered a bill here, then another there. Nobody called it an arrangement. Nobody had to. The thanks got smaller, the requests got smoother, and my chair at their table stayed exactly where Megan wanted it, close enough to help and far enough not to interfere. That Christmas dinner had Megan's fingerprints on every inch of it. Cream napkins, gold chargers, little name cards, a hired photographer named Calvin Reed moving quietly near the tree. Ryan wore the green sweater Linda had bought him years before, as if my dead wife could still approve the evening from a department store label. Caleb climbed onto my knee before dinner and whispered that his winter STEM camp had a robot arm this year. I told him I knew. I had paid the deposit myself that morning through the camp portal, because Megan had texted me a reminder with 3 exclamation points and no question mark. At the head of the table, Megan tapped her glass and thanked everyone for coming. She thanked the caterer, the cousins, the neighbors, the family that shows up. Her eyes touched me on that last phrase, and moved on. Ryan did not look at me then. He was staring at a silver folder beside Megan's plate, the kind restaurants use for menus, except this one had no restaurant logo, just a white ribbon around it. The first crack came over the catering balance. Megan said it lightly, with a smile still on her face. "Harold, before I forget, they'll send the rest of the invoice tomorrow. Same card as usual." I said, "Send it to me and I'll look at it." That should have been enough. It had been enough for years. But Ryan set his fork down hard enough to make Caleb stop chewing. "Don't do that, Dad." 22 people heard him. The room did not go silent all at once. It tightened in pieces. A cousin stopped laughing. A neighbor looked down at her plate. Calvin lowered his camera but did not turn it off. Ryan pushed his chair back. "You don't get to sit here, let us build Christmas around you, and then act like every bill is some favor you might or might not approve." "Ryan," I said, because fathers are foolish that way. We still think a name can pull a grown son back. He looked straight at me, red across the neck. "Pay for us, or leave." Megan did not gasp. That was what I noticed first. She folded her napkin, very calm, as if Ryan had finally said the line they had rehearsed without saying. "Harold, please don't make a scene," she said. "Everyone knows how much we've done for you." I looked around that table and saw the judgment forming before anybody had facts. Megan's parents looked offended on her behalf. Denise, Ryan's cousin, kept her phone under the table. One of the neighbors gave me the tight little smile people save for older men who have become inconvenient in public. I could have listed the payments right there. Mortgage help after Ryan's commission month collapsed. The SUV lease I had temporarily helped cover since March. Caleb's camp. The caterer. The club dues Megan said were important for Caleb's friendships. Instead I heard Linda's voice in my head, quiet as a hand on my sleeve. "Don't beg people to remember what they took." Megan smiled then, not kindly. "Let's see how long you survive without us." The sentence got a laugh from someone who wished he had not laughed. Ryan did not correct her. Caleb looked from his mother to me. He was 10, old enough to understand tone and too young to know where to put it. I pushed my chair back slowly so the legs would not scrape. "Merry Christmas," I said, because I could not think of anything else that would not tear him in half. Ryan muttered, "There he goes." I walked through the foyer with my coat over one arm. Behind me, Megan's voice rose, bright and injured, telling everyone dessert would be out in a minute. That was her gift. She could turn a wound into logistics before it bled on the rug. At the hall table, The silver folder had been moved onto a stack of dessert plates. The ribbon had loosened. I saw the first page inside because my name was printed in bold near the top. Family Support Agreement. Under that, smaller, cleaner, worse. Harold Bennett acknowledges ongoing contribution to household expenses for the benefit of Ryan Bennett, Megan Bennett, and minor child Caleb Bennett. I did not touch it. I did not have to. I had spent my life reading estimates upside down across conference tables. One glance was enough to know the dinner had not turned ugly by accident. Outside, the cold hit my face and cleared it. I heard the door close behind me, then Megan's laugh through the glass, already smoothing the story for the room. In my coat pocket was a key Ryan did not know existed, to a small house I had bought 3 months earlier. I put my hand around it and walked to my car. I drove out of Ryan's neighborhood with my phone buzzing in the cup holder. The first call was Ryan. The second was Megan. The third was Ryan again, then a text from him that said, "Don't be dramatic. Come back before Caleb starts asking questions." That was how he made a command sound like concern. I did not go back. I crossed the river road, past the strip mall where Linda used to buy birdseed, and turned onto a lane outside Doylestown that still had old stone walls under the snow. The house at the end was small, 1 story, newly roofed, with a porch light on a timer and 2 empty planters by the steps. I had bought it in September through a quiet closing. Ryan thought I was still thinking about downsizing someday. Megan thought I could not choose a cable plan without her help. The key went in cleanly. The heat was set low but working. In the kitchen, there was a folding chair, a card table, a coffee maker, and the blue mug Caleb had painted for me 3 summers earlier. I stood there in my overcoat until my hands stopped shaking. Then I took out the notebook I used to keep job estimates in, opened to the page marked Ryan, and wrote 1 word at the top. Stop. I did not cancel everything. That matters. The bank app opened to the life I had been pretending was temporary. The transfer marked Ryan Mortgage Assist was scheduled for the 1st. I canceled the next one and saved the confirmation. The leased SUV payment I had been covering since spring was not in my name, but the automatic reimbursement to Ryan was. I stopped it. The club dues Megan said Caleb needed for normal friendships came from my checking account through a saved vendor profile. That profile came off too. The utility cushion, the weekly grocery card reload, the little event deposits Megan described as temporary until clients paid her back. All of it sat there in my phone, like a map of how a favor becomes a floor under somebody else's life. Then I opened the Winter STEM Camp portal. Caleb Bennett, deposit paid, balance due in January. I paid the balance directly and downloaded the receipt before I let myself think about his face at the table. Ryan called while the receipt was still on the screen. "Dad, where are you?" "Home," I said. There was a pause. "You're not at our place." Megan checked the guest room. "My home." That silence was different. I could hear the television in his den. Somebody laughing too loudly, Megan managing dessert with the kind of cheer that meant she was angry enough to break glass. Ryan lowered his voice. "What does that mean?" "It means, I'm not coming back tonight. You can't just disappear on Christmas." "I didn't disappear, I left when you told me to." He breathed through his nose. "Fine," I said something. "You made your point. Come back before this becomes a thing." It was already a thing. It had become one in front of 22 people, 1 silver folder, and my grandson's wide eyes. I told Ryan I would speak to him tomorrow. He said Megan was worried about my driving. Then he said Caleb was upset. Then he said, "Don't start canceling things just because you're mad." I looked at the notebook. I had not told him a single cancellation had happened. At 11:30, someone knocked on the back door and nearly took 10 years off my life. It was Nancy Whitaker from 2 houses down, wearing a parka over pajamas and carrying a flashlight like she had been born with one. "Your porch light came on," she said. "I figured either you finally moved in or someone was stealing copper." I almost laughed. It came out wrong. Nancy had been the HOA treasurer in her old neighborhood for 14 years. She knew more about quiet household money than most bankers. I made coffee because there was nothing else in the kitchen to offer. Then I showed her the notebook, not the family shame, just the lines: mortgage assist, SUV reimbursement, club, utilities, caterer, camp. She did not whistle. She did not call me a fool. She put on reading glasses and said, "Which ones are for the boy?" I pointed to camp and one school activity account. "Keep those direct," she said. "Everything else, stop saying yes with your bank account. And tomorrow, you tell every vendor one sentence. You are not the payer on future adult charges." That was the first useful sentence anybody had said to me all night. After Nancy left, the house felt less empty. Not warm, not home yet, but mine. I walked through each room with my phone flashlight because half the lamps were still in boxes. Bedroom, den, laundry room. A small spare room Caleb would probably call boring until he saw the model train set I had saved from Ryan's childhood. At 1 in the morning, I printed the camp receipt on the little printer I had bought and never unpacked. It came out crooked. I kept it anyway. Then I made a folder on my laptop. Adult expenses stopped. I put the cancellation confirmations there, one by one, with plain names and dates. No speeches. No revenge notes. Just proof that I had stopped being the invisible part of their budget. Megan texted at 1:26. "You need to think carefully before you embarrass yourself. We have every transfer you ever sent. Don't do something stupid over one dinner." A minute later another message came. "And don't pretend Caleb won't be affected." I looked at the printed camp receipt on the card table. Paid in full. Provider confirmation. Caleb Bennett. For the first time since Ryan had stood up at that table, I understood the shape of the fight. They were not afraid I would leave. They were afraid I had somewhere to go, and records to take with me. The next morning, Calvin Reed called before 9. I almost did not answer, because I knew him only as the man Megan had hired to photograph children with frosting on their faces. His voice was careful. "Mr. Bennett, I hope I'm not overstepping. People say that right before they overstep in a way that saves you." Calvin told me he had been sorting previews from the dinner. He had a few wide shots from the dining room and one short video clip, because his camera had been set wrong when Ryan stood. "I wasn't recording for drama," he said. "I was trying to catch the toast, but your name is visible in one photo, on a folder." I asked him to send the original, not a screenshot. He did. The file landed in my email with a polite note and no commentary. On the screen, Megan's table looked exactly the way she wanted it to look. Candles, gold plates, red berries, my grandson's hand reaching for a roll. Beside Megan's water glass sat the silver folder, open just enough for the first page to show. My name was there. So were the words, "Family Support Agreement." Calvin had captured it before anyone thought to hide it. Nancy came over after breakfast with a yellow legal pad and the expression of a woman who had seen too many neighbors call theft miscommunication. I printed Calvin's photo and set it beside my bank history. She did not touch either one until she washed her hands, which made me like her more. "This is not a contract," she said after a minute. "I know. No, Harold. Listen, it is not a contract yet. That is different from harmless." She drew 3 columns on the pad. Old help, future bills, child only. Under old help, she told me to write each transfer exactly as the bank labeled it. Under future bills, she made me write every account where Megan or Ryan might have used my name as a payer, backup, or family contact. Under child only, she put Caleb's camp receipt in a box. "They're going to make habit look like promise," she said. That folder was not sitting there for decoration. The sentence made my stomach turn because it was clean, and clean things are harder to dismiss. Nancy gave me the name of Jonah Price, an attorney who handled elder law paperwork and debt disputes without wearing a television lawyer tie. His assistant squeezed me into a video call at noon. Jonah had a square face, tired eyes, and the good manners to let me talk for 4 minutes before stopping me. "Do not sign anything that describes past gifts as ongoing support," he said. "Do not sign anything with the word acknowledge, unless you know exactly what you're acknowledging. And do not call them thieves if you plan to send anything in writing." Were they trying to make me liable? They were trying to make you useful on paper. Liability comes later, one account at a time. That sounded more American than any grand betrayal. Not a judge, not a dramatic confession. The series of account desks, vendor emails, polite phrases, and my name placed where I had never agreed to place it. Jonah asked for the folder photo, the bank history, Megan's texts, and the camp receipt. "We're not proving they are bad people," he said. "We're proving what you will not pay going forward." By 2 o'clock, Ryan had started telling people his version. Denise Porter, his cousin, sent me a private message because she had never liked being useful to other people's lies. Uncle Harold, Ryan says you agreed to help with household expenses because you were basically living there after Aunt Linda. Is that true? I stared at the word basically for a long time. Basically living there, that was what 3 dinners a week, school pickups, repairs, and grief became when spoken by someone who needed a bill paid. I wrote back, I visited often. I helped voluntarily. I did not agree to become their household payer. Denise did not answer right away. Then she sent a screenshot from the family group text. Ryan had written, Dad has been part of our household expenses for years. Tonight he embarrassed Megan in front of everyone and walked out when asked to keep his commitments. Below that, Megan had added one of my old transfers, with the memo line, Ryan, house help. It looked bad because it was true in pieces. That was the danger. The first packet Jonah asked for took the rest of the afternoon. Not a manifesto, he was clear about that. A folder photo, the camp receipt, Megan's 2 texts, a list of transfers with my own note beside each one, voluntary, no future obligation accepted. I hated the note. It made love sound like a receipt, but love had already been turned into a receipt at Ryan's table. I was only writing the date on it. At 4:15, my phone rang from a number I did not know. A woman introduced herself from the community management office that handled Ryan and Megan's HOA dues and a few utility pass-through accounts. Mr. Bennett, I'm confirming whether you authorized the Bennett household to list you as the responsible family payer for the January account adjustment. I sat down. No, I said. I did not authorize that. There was a paper pause on her end. Mrs. Bennett said this was an existing family arrangement. The silver folder on Calvin's photograph seemed to open wider in my mind. I asked the woman to send her question by email and not to change any account based on my name. Then I forwarded the call note to Jonah and Nancy. Megan had not waited for me to calm down. She had already started putting my name where she needed it. By the second day after Christmas, Megan's version had already done practical damage. Denise Porter sent me 3 screenshots from the family group text before breakfast. Megan had posted one old transfer from me to Ryan with the memo line, family help, then wrote, Harold has been part of our household expenses for years, now he is backing out and Caleb may lose things he already promised. Ryan added, we are worried about Dad. He got angry at dinner and left, instead of talking like an adult. 2 cousins reacted with prayer hands. One uncle wrote, don't let the boy suffer. That was not gossip anymore. That was a pressure system with my grandson at the center. I sent Denise one sentence. Caleb's winter camp is paid directly and in full. Please do not forward more until I know where this is going. She answered with a screenshot of Megan's next line. He is saying that now because he knows people are watching. I put the phone down and wrote the first new line in Jonah's packet. False child payment claim already active in family group text. At 10, the caterer called. The woman on the phone sounded tired before I said hello. Mr. Bennett, I'm following up on the Bennett holiday balance. Mrs. Bennett said you were the family payer and that there had been a misunderstanding. I paid the deposit I agreed to pay, I said. I am not the payer for any remaining adult balance. She hesitated. Mrs. Bennett said the delay was because you left the event unexpectedly. There it was again, polite and poisonous. I asked her to send the invoice by email with the account name and any note Megan had given her. Then I called the club office and removed my card from the saved family profile. The woman at the desk said Megan had just asked whether the January dues could be charged as usual. I told her no. By lunchtime, my phone had become a little courthouse nobody had voted for. Every call asked whether I was still the man Ryan and Megan had described, angry, embarrassed, pulling support from a child. Each ring dragged Caleb back to that dinner table, small and silent beside the folder meant to use him. The leased SUV came next. I had never signed for it. Ryan had signed, Megan had picked the color, and I had started sending Ryan money after he said a bad commission quarter had put them behind. Temporary, he said then. 3 months, maybe 4. At 1:20, a finance representative left me a voicemail asking whether I intended to continue family reimbursement support for the Bennett vehicle. I saved the message and forwarded it to Jonah. Then I texted Ryan, "Do not give my name or number to any account as payer or support." He answered in less than a minute. "You bought a whole house behind our backs, and now you're pretending you're broke." That was the first time he said the new house out loud. I had not told him the address. Megan must have checked property notifications, mail, or some loose comment I had made months earlier. The point was not that I had money, the point was that I had made one decision they could not use. Ryan sent another text. "You lived off our family after Mom died, don't rewrite history." At 3, the camp office called. Not a finance office this time. A young man named Eric sounded uncomfortable enough to be honest. "Mr. Bennett, Caleb's winter stem balance is paid, I see that. But Mrs. Bennett asked whether the payment could be reversed or moved because of a family dispute. We don't usually get in the middle of this." My hand tightened around the phone. "Do not reverse it."
"We won't without the payer request. I am the payer. Keep the payment on Caleb Bennett's account." He said he would add a note. Then, after a pause, he said, "There is also a parent thread. I can't control that. Someone said Caleb may lose his spot because of a grandparent issue." I thanked him and hung up before my voice changed. Nancy was at my kitchen table sorting printouts when I told her. She stopped writing. "That's not about the money anymore," she said. "No," I said. "That's about making the child ask me the question they want asked." The phone rang while the words were still in the room. Caleb's name lit the screen. I almost answered. Every part of me wanted to answer. Nancy put her hand flat on the table, not touching me, just stopping the air between us. "If his parents are standing there," she said, "you are about to be recorded by a 10-year-old who doesn't know he is holding a weapon." That sounded cruel until I imagined Megan beside Caleb, mouthing words, waiting for me to say one wrong sentence. I let the call go to voicemail. It was the hardest small decision I had made in years. The voicemail came through 30 seconds later. Caleb's voice was thin. "Grandpa, Mom says I might not go to camp now. Did I do something? I can give back the robot kit if it's too much." I played it once, only once. Then I sent the audio to Jonah and wrote down the time. Jonah called back in 4 minutes. "Do not answer that through the child," he said. "Send one written note to Ryan and Megan. Caleb's camp is paid directly. Adult bills are separate. You are available to speak with Caleb when no adult is coaching him." That sounds cold. It is less cold than letting them use him as a switchboard. I wrote the note exactly that way and sent it to both of them. Megan replied with a thumbs-up emoji, which somehow felt nastier than a paragraph. Ryan texted before I could move. "Call your grandson. Tell him you're done being angry." That was the first public version in its sharpest form, an old man with a new house, a pile of receipts, and a child being told he was too expensive to love. I had stopped paying adults. By nightfall, they had made it sound as if I had stopped being a grandfather. I waited 20 minutes before I called Caleb back. Not because Jonah told me to wait, because I needed my voice to sound like a grandfather and not like a man who wanted to drive across town and kick in his son's front door. Ryan answered Caleb's phone. "He's right here," he said. "Don't make this worse. Put him on speaker and step away. You don't give orders here." I closed my eyes. "Then I won't discuss money. I will talk to my grandson when he can talk freely." Caleb came on before Ryan could answer. "Grandpa? I'm here, buddy." His breathing was small and fast. "Mom said the camp people called because you took it back." "I did not take it back." She said, "Maybe you paid it by mistake, and now you're mad." There are sentences that sound childish and adult at the same time. That one did. Caleb had not invented paid it by mistake. Somebody had given it to him, because it sounded gentler than Grandpa left us. I told him, "Your camp is paid. You did nothing wrong. I did not leave because of you." The line went quiet. I heard a door close on his end. Then Megan's voice farther away. "Caleb, don't wander with the phone." He whispered, "Are you mad at Dad?" I could have said yes. It would have been honest and useless. "I'm handling an adult problem with your dad and Mom. It is not your job." But Mom showed people the money. That was how I learned she had not kept the screenshots in the family group. Caleb told me, in the broken order children use when they know they heard something they were not supposed to hear. that another parent had asked Megan in the parking lot whether camp was settled. Megan had opened her phone and said, "We thought Harold was covering it. He's making choices right now." After we hung up, I asked Denise if she knew anything about a parent thread. 10 minutes later, she sent a screenshot from a private school group Megan shared with 2 camp parents. One transfer from me to Ryan. One line from Megan, "We are trying not to involve Caleb, but Harold is pulling back from commitments and it may affect winter plans." My name had moved from the dinner table to a parking lot. Jonah had warned me not to answer through panic. This time I could answer cleanly, so the camp office got one short email. Caleb Bennett's winter STEM camp balance was paid directly by me on December 26. Please confirm in writing that his place is secure and that no refund, transfer, or account change should be processed without my written request. Eric answered within the hour. Confirmed. Caleb Bennett is paid in full, and his spot is reserved. I printed that email and put it beside the receipt, then I took a photo of both, cropped out the amount, and sent it to Ryan and Megan. Caleb's camp is secure, do not tell him otherwise. Adult expenses remain separate. Ryan called immediately. I let it ring. Megan texted instead, "You don't get to play hero after blowing up our household." I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Nancy, sitting across from me with her yellow pad, said, "If the child is safe, don't buy the adults back just to make the room quieter." That was the price. Quiet had always been the expensive part. Ryan came by that evening without warning, not to my door, to the end of the driveway, where the camera over the garage could see him and he could pretend he had not come all the way in. He stood beside his SUV in a wool coat Megan had probably chosen, holding his phone like a ticket. I stepped onto the porch and did not invite him inside. "Caleb cried for an hour," Ryan said. "Then stop telling him I pulled his camp. You think a receipt fixes what you did? No, it fixes the lie about camp." He looked past me at the house, taking inventory. New porch rail, new windows, new life he had not approved. "You had money for this." "I had money I stopped sending to adult bills." His jaw moved. For a second I saw the boy who used to hate admitting he had lost a baseball game. Then he lifted the phone. "Megan and I are bringing the agreement tomorrow. We are not doing this through screenshots and some lawyer who doesn't know this family. I won't sign it. You haven't read it. I saw enough." He smiled then, small and mean. "Caleb is going to ask why Grandpa chose paperwork over him." He left before I could answer. That was Ryan's gift, too. He always liked the last line if he could drive away from it. I stood on the porch until the SUV lights disappeared. Then I went back inside and listened to Caleb's voicemail one more time. Not because I needed pain, but because I needed to remember what the adults had done with it. "Mom says I might not go to camp. Did I do something? No 10-year-old should have to offer back a robot kit to prove he is not a burden." I called Jonah and told him Ryan was bringing the agreement. Jonah asked whether I wanted him present. I said no. Not because I was brave, because I needed Ryan to say what he meant in my kitchen, without a lawyer to perform against. "Then record openly," Jonah said. "Tell them at the start. If they leave, they leave." I put the camp receipt, the email confirmation, and Calvin's folder photo into a plain manila envelope. On the outside I wrote 3 words for myself, not for court. "Child stays protected." By the time I went to bed, the house felt less like shelter and more like a line drawn across a floor. I had crossed it. Tomorrow Ryan and Megan were going to try to make me step back. I left the porch light on for witnesses. The morning Ryan and Megan were supposed to come, Jonah sent the wording I was allowed to use. It was shorter than I expected and colder than I liked. Past financial help was voluntary. I do not accept responsibility for future adult household expenses, vendor balances, vehicle payments, club dues, or account adjustments. Any child-specific support I choose to provide will be paid directly to the provider. I read it 3 times and hated every word except directly. Nancy sat at my kitchen table with 2 mugs of coffee and the yellow pad. She made me practice saying it without explaining myself. That was harder than it sounds. I wanted to say Ryan had been grieving too. I wanted to say Megan had not always been cruel. I wanted to say I had helped because I missed Linda and because Caleb's backpack on my passenger seat made the world feel less empty. Nancy tapped the paper. All true. None of it belongs in a vendor notice. So I wrote the notices. Caterer, club office,
HOA pass-through account, utility contact, SUV finance office. Each one said the same clean thing. Do not list Harold Bennett as payer or support for future adult charges. The proof packet took longer because Jonah kept cutting my anger out of it. I sent him a paragraph about Ryan humiliating me. He sent it back with one sentence highlighted, not needed for the account desk. He let me keep 5 things. Calvin's photo of the silver folder, Megan's texts about transfers and Caleb, the camp receipt and confirmation email, a page of old transfers with my notes beside them, the voicemail from the HOA account desk asking whether I had authorized responsible family payer language. This is enough for a boundary, Jonah said. It is not enough for revenge theater. That's good. Revenge theater would make Megan look right. I asked about Calvin's video. He had not sent it yet. Jonah told me to wait. Use the minimum first. If they keep claiming you walked out before being asked to pay, then the audio matters. Minimum, that word held me in place. I did not want Caleb to someday find the folder where his parents had been publicly skinned because of him. The first reply came from the club. Card removed from Bennett family profile, future charges require account holder payment. The second came from the caterer, remaining holiday balance billed to Megan Bennett, event client of record. The HOA office wrote a longer note. They have not changed the account, but Megan had asked whether I could be added as family payer for convenience. The woman apologized for calling me without written authorization. I saved that email twice. The SUV finance office did not answer by email. A man named Kevin called instead and said Ryan had asked whether family support payments could be considered in a hardship note. I told him I was not a cosigner, not a payer, and not a reference for future payments. He said, "Understood," in the flat voice of a man who had heard worse. Then he added, "Mr. Bennett, if your son is behind, notices go to him." That should have felt like victory. It did not. It felt like pulling boards out from under a porch I had helped build, while my grandson still lived in the house. Ryan texted at 3, "We are coming at 5. Megan wants this settled like adults." Megan followed with her own message, "If you keep making reckless financial moves, we will have to tell people you are not handling things well. I don't want to do that to you." There was the velvet version of the threat. Not, "We will sue." Not yet. Something softer in public, and uglier in private. Poor Harold, not acting like himself. Confused by grief, making rash decisions with accounts. Jonah read the text and said, "They are testing whether you are afraid of being seen as incapable." "I am," I said. "Then write down the rule before they arrive." So I did.
On a sheet of printer paper, in black marker, I wrote, "This conversation is being recorded. Child support direct. Adult bills no. No retroactive agreement." Nancy taped it to the refrigerator like a school schedule. "If they laugh at it," she said, "let them laugh on the recording." At 4:58, Ryan's SUV turned into the driveway. Megan was in the passenger seat with the silver folder on her lap. They did not come inside that day. That was the part that told me Jonah's wording had worked. Ryan walked halfway up the path, saw the sign on the refrigerator through the kitchen window and stopped. Megan opened her door, folder in hand, then closed it again when Nancy stepped into view beside me. Ryan called instead, standing in my driveway like a man too proud to knock. "You brought an audience." "I brought a witness," I said. "This is why Megan is worried. You're turning family into a case file." "No. I'm stopping you from turning my help into a bill." Megan leaned across him and said, loud enough for the phone, "Harold, all we need is for you to acknowledge what you've already been doing. Nobody is asking for anything new." That was the cleanest lie yet. Before I could answer, another call came through from Kevin at the SUV finance office. I let it go to voicemail. Ryan saw the name on my screen and his face changed. The voicemail landed while they were still in the driveway. "Mr. Bennett, this is Kevin following up. Since you are not party to the account, any pending default notice will go to Ryan Bennett directly." Ryan heard enough. Megan heard enough. The folder stayed closed, but the first adult consequence had found its address. The first thing Ryan lost was not the SUV, it was the ability to pretend the SUV was normal. Anthony Cole, a coworker from Ryan's supply company, called me the next morning.
He had never called me before.
Men like Anthony do not call a friend's father unless the friend has dragged the father into the room without asking. "Mr. Bennett," he said, "Ryan mentioned there was a family mix-up with his vehicle payment. He said you might be able to confirm it's being handled." I looked at the phone for a second before answering. "Anthony, I am not on Ryan's vehicle account. I am not covering future payments. If Ryan told you to call me, he should not have." The silence after that had a work break room inside it. "Understood," Anthony said. He hung up politely. 5 minutes later Ryan texted, "Did you really just embarrass me with Tony?" I did not answer. The embarrassing part was not that Anthony knew. The embarrassing part was that Ryan had sent him looking for the wallet and found only his father. Megan's loss came through the caterer, which was worse for her than if it had come through a bank. Banks are private. Caterers talk in the same soft network where event planners get referrals. At noon, Denise forwarded a message from a neighbor who had been at the Christmas dinner. Did Megan really leave the holiday balance unpaid after saying Harold ruined dessert? I had not told Denise about the balance. I had told the caterer only that I was not the payer. That meant the caterer had billed Megan. Megan had argued, and someone in her beautiful little vendor circle had noticed the account did not match the story. Megan texted me 2 minutes later. "You are damaging my business over a family misunderstanding." I wrote back, "I did not contact your clients. I told the caterer I am not responsible for your remaining balance." She answered, "Same thing." It was not the same thing, but it was the first honest sentence she had sent. To Megan, no longer paying for the image was the same as attacking the image. The club office sent written confirmation that my card was removed from the Bennett family profile. 10 minutes later, Ryan called 3 times. I let all 3 go. Then he sent a photo of Caleb's sneakers by the back door with one sentence. "He still thinks you are coming Saturday." Saturday was the club's winter junior day. I had forgotten because Megan had always sent me the times, and I had always paid the charge after the fact. I called the club desk and asked whether Caleb was enrolled. "He is on the list," the woman said, "but the family account needs a new payment method. Can I pay Caleb's portion directly?" She paused. "For this event, yes. Going forward, the family account holder has to handle membership charges." I paid Caleb's portion. Only Caleb's. Then I emailed Ryan and Megan the receipt with one line, "I will not discuss adult membership dues through Caleb." Ryan replied, "You are making everything transactional." I almost wrote back, "No, I am making the transactions visible." I did not. Some lines are for the listener, not the fight. By evening, the guests from Christmas were no longer all on Ryan's side. Not because they loved me better. Because bills have a smell, and people can tell when a story is sprayed too heavily with perfume. Denise called instead of texting. Aunt Patty asked why Megan had the agreement folder at dinner if this was all sudden. "What did you say?" I said I didn't know. Then Megan told me I was being manipulated by a lonely old man. I heard the hurt under Denise's sarcasm. That was another cost Megan had not counted. If you use a room as a weapon, sometimes the room remembers. An hour later, Jonah forwarded a reply from the caterer. Mrs. Bennett stated Harold Bennett would cover the remaining family balance as he has done on prior events. "We have updated the invoice to client of record only." There it was in writing. Not a crime, not a lawsuit. Just Megan's assumption, denied by the vendor she needed. Ryan texted at 9, "Enough. Tomorrow we come inside, we talk, you sign, and we stop humiliating each other." He still thought the humiliation was mutual. The next morning, I found a plain envelope tucked halfway under my porch mat. No stamp, no return address. Inside was a photocopy of the first page of the family support agreement, with my name circled in blue pen. Under the circle, someone had written, "This protects Caleb too." Megan's handwriting, neat, slanted, pretty enough to sell a lie. I photographed the envelope where it lay, then picked it up with a paper towel, because Nancy had trained me too well. Jonah told me to keep the original and not answer. Calvin texted while I was putting it in the manila folder. "Found the audio from the toast. It has Ryan's line. Tell me if you need it." I did not ask for it yet. The folder on my table was already heavy with things I wished I had never needed. At 4, Ryan's SUV turned in again. This time he parked close to the porch. Megan got out first, silver folder against her chest. Ryan followed with his mouth tight, and his phone in his hand. I opened the door before they knocked.
"The conversation is being recorded," I said. Megan looked past me into the house. "Then let's make sure you say something decent." Ryan stepped over the threshold with the folder, and my new house stopped feeling new. Nancy sat at the card table with a notebook open. She did not greet them. She only wrote the time at the top of the page, which made Ryan look at the floor for the first time. Ryan put the silver folder on my card table like he was serving papers. Megan sat beside him in her cream coat, knees together, face arranged for disappointment. Nancy stayed at the far end with her notebook. I set my phone in the middle of the table with the recorder app open. "This conversation is being recorded," I said again. Megan looked at the phone. "For a man who says he loves his family, you sure do need protection from them." "I need accuracy." Ryan opened the folder. The first page was cleaner than Calvin's photograph had shown. Family support agreement. My name. Ryan's name.
Megan's name. Caleb's name tucked inside a sentence about the benefit of household stability. The draft said I acknowledged regular support and intended to continue reasonable contributions to household and child-related expenses. "Reasonable," Ryan said, tapping the word. "That's all." I looked at the line again. Household and child-related. One word tying Caleb to every adult bill they wanted me to keep carrying. "I will not sign this," I said. Ryan leaned back. "You haven't even read the whole thing." "I read the sentence that matters." Megan opened a second page. "Harold, nobody is trying to trap you. This simply states what has already been happening. You helped this household. You have for years. Caleb depends on stability. Caleb's camp is paid. Camp is not a childhood," she said. "You don't get to buy one receipt and walk away from the family." Nancy's pen stopped for half a second, then moved again. I turned to Ryan. "Past help was voluntary. I will pay for Caleb directly when I choose to. I will not pay your adult household bills, your SUV, Megan's event balances, club dues, utility cushions, or anything else through a sentence that hides behind him." Ryan's face hardened. "You hear yourself, my father, itemizing his grandson." "No," I said, "your father, refusing to let you itemize him." Megan took out her phone. "Maybe you should hear what this sounds like to Caleb." She played a voice note before I could stop her. Caleb's voice filled my unfinished kitchen. "Mom said Grandpa doesn't want to help us anymore. Is that because he has a new house now?" The recording ended there. No question before it. No answer after it. Just my grandson's fear, cut clean and laid on the table. Ryan looked at me as if he had won something. "That's what this is doing." I wanted to grab the phone. I wanted to tell Megan she had no right to make him say that. Instead, I looked at my own phone recording the room and said, "Play the full conversation." Megan's mouth tightened. "That's the part that matters." "No," I said. "That's the part you kept." Nancy wrote that down. Megan noticed. For the first time, she looked less composed than angry. "You are turning us into criminals," she said. "You brought a child's edited voice into a money conversation," I said. "I am maiming what happened." Ryan stood, his chair hit the wall behind him. "You think you're so clean because you use words like direct and adult expenses," he said. "You were lonely, Dad. We let you in. We let you be around Caleb. We let you feel useful. And now you buy a house behind our backs and act like we used you." There it was. Not in Megan's careful language, not wrapped in concern. "Let you be around Caleb." I felt the sentence land and stay. "You don't grant me grandfatherhood in exchange for payments," I said. "Then stop acting like payments are separate." "They are separate now." Megan gathered the pages. "If you don't sign, we will explain why. To everyone. To Caleb when he's old enough. To anyone who thinks this is just about money." I reached over, closed the folder with 2 fingers, and pushed it back across the table. "Then, explain it without my signature." Ryan stared at the folder as if it had betrayed him by staying paper. "Leave the house," I said. He laughed once. "Your house now, my house now." They left badly. Megan put the folder under her arm and walked out first, chin high, as if the porch camera were a red carpet. Ryan stayed long enough to say, "You will regret making us look desperate." "I didn't make you bring the folder," I said. He slammed the door hard enough to rattle the mug Caleb had painted.
Nancy waited until the SUV backed out before she closed her notebook. He said the quiet part, she said. I nodded because my throat was no use to me. At 6:30, Calvin sent the dinner clip. He included a message. I listened twice. I think you should have it. No pressure to use it. I sat at the card table and played it with Nancy and Jonah on speaker. First Megan's toast, bright and polished. Then the catering balance question. Then Ryan's chair. Then his voice, not remembered, not interpreted, not softened by family later. Pay for us, or leave. After that came Megan, clear as a knife on glass. Let's see how long you survive without us. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Jonah finally said, now you have sequence. I looked at the silver folder photograph, the camp receipt, the vendor emails, and the audio file. The proof was no longer large. It was sharp. The next question was who needed to see it without turning Caleb's life into a show. Jonah made me write the list before I slept. Vendors who had received my name, relatives who had been sent transfer screenshots. The camp office only if the rumor continued, and Denise because Megan had used her thread. No Facebook. No neighborhood blast. No message to Caleb. I did not send the audio first. That would have felt good for about 30 seconds, and then lived forever in places I could not control. Jonah helped me draft a short note for the people who had been used, not everyone who was curious. The caterer got one version. The club office got another. The HOA office got a third. Denise received the family version because Megan had used the family thread. And Denise had been decent enough to risk being disliked. The note was plain, past payments from me to Ryan and Megan were voluntary help. I have not agreed to be responsible for their future adult household expenses, vehicle payments, club dues, event balances, or account adjustments. Caleb's winter camp and the listed child-specific activity were paid directly by me and remain secure. Below that, Jonah let me attach the folder photo, the camp receipt, and one vendor email. No insults. No diagnosis. No claim that Ryan and Megan were bad parents. Just enough light to show where the furniture was. The caterer replied first. Thank you for clarifying. We will communicate only with Megan Bennett, client of record. The club office replied with fewer words and more effect. Caleb's event payment received. Adult membership billing remains with the account holder. The HOA office sent a note saying my name had not been added and would not be added without my written authorization. I forwarded that one to Jonah and Nancy, then printed it because paper still calmed me more than screens. Denise did not answer for 2 hours. When she did, she called. I sent your note to the people Megan sent screenshots to, she said. Not the whole family, just those. You didn't have to. I know. That's why I did it. She paused. Patty says she remembers Ryan standing before you left. She didn't say anything because Megan was crying in the kitchen after. That was the first crack in the room's memory. Not justice, not apology, a crack. Sometimes a crack is where air gets in. Megan answered the crack by calling it manipulation. She sent a message to the same small group Denise had corrected. Harold is sending selective material after refusing to speak privately. We are protecting Caleb from an adult dispute. That was when Jonah told me to use the audio. Not in the parent thread, not on social media. Only to the relatives who had heard or repeated the dinner story. And only the portion that showed sequence. I asked Calvin once more if he was comfortable. He replied, I recorded the room. I did not create what was said. So Denise sent the short clip. Megan's toast. Her catering balance question. Ryan's chair. Ryan's voice. Pay for us or leave. Then Megan's line about surviving without them. No commentary. I sat with my phone face down while it traveled. I did not want to watch people react to my son humiliating me. That is a strange thing about proof. You need it because you were hurt. And then it makes the hurt portable. The first message came from Patty. Harold, I should have said something that night. I heard him. I am sorry. Then Ryan's uncle wrote, I didn't know he said it before you left. Nobody called Ryan evil. Nobody called Megan a thief. Nobody came to my door with flowers and shame. The world did not balance itself because of one audio clip. But the sentence Megan had built her version around.
Harold walked out and abandoned them, stopped standing on its own. The parent thread changed more quietly. Denise sent only the camp confirmation and one line. Caleb's spot was never unpaid. Please leave the child out of adult billing issues. One mother replied, good to know. Hope Caleb is okay. That was all. That was enough. Caleb did not need a jury. He needed the rumor to stop landing on his backpack. By evening, Megan's messages had shortened. Ryan's had not. He sent one at 7:20. You got what you wanted.
Everyone thinks we're broke and cruel. Hope that feels good. It did not feel good. It felt accurate. The next morning, Ryan called from his car. I knew because I could hear the turn signal. The old habit he had of driving while angry and taking roads he did not need. Dad, he said, and for 1 second I heard the boy in him again. Yes, we need to put things back the way they were. Not talk, not apologize, not ask how Caleb was. Put things back. Which things? He exhaled hard. The payments. The account stuff. Megan's business is taking hits. The car notice is a mess. The club is asking questions. You made your point. There it was, clean as a receipt. They did not ask for dinner. They did not ask for Sunday morning pancakes with Caleb. They did not ask whether I had slept since Christmas. They asked for the old route through my bank account to reopen. Caleb's direct payments stay, I said. Adult payments do not. You would really watch us fall behind. I watched you stand up and tell me to pay or leave. He went quiet. Then he said, lower. If you don't help us, access to Caleb gets complicated. The old threat, softened by exhaustion, was still the old threat. I put the call on speaker and set my phone beside Nancy's notebook. Say that again, with Nancy listening. Ryan swore under his breath. Caleb is not a payment route, I said. If you want to schedule a visit, put it in writing. If you want adult bills paid, the answer is no. You are making me choose. No. I am refusing to let you make Caleb choose for us. He hung up. A minute later, he texted, Saturday, 2 hours, public place. No money talk. It was not kind, it was not healed. But it was the first message since Christmas that did not put a bill between my grandson and me. I forwarded it to Jonah and wrote the final line for the packet. Contact separated from adult payment dispute.
Ryan chose the public place for Saturday, a small sandwich shop halfway between my house and his. Neutral ground, he called it, as if we were negotiating a border, instead of letting a boy eat grilled cheese with his grandfather. Caleb came in wearing the blue jacket Linda had bought, too large the year before she died. It fit now. That almost undid me. Ryan stayed by the door. Megan was not with him. He checked the room, checked me, checked the empty chair across from mine. 2 hours, he said. No money talk. No money talk, I said. Caleb slid into the booth and looked older than 10 for about 3 seconds. Then he saw the small robot magazine I had brought and became 10 again. We talked about camp. We talked about whether a robot arm could pick up a pickle. We talked about Linda because Caleb asked whether Grandma would have liked the new house. I told him yes, but she would have hated the kitchen light. He laughed with his mouth full, and for a little while the world did not ask me to prove anything. Near the end, Caleb looked down at his fries and said, Mom said grown-ups fought because stuff costs a lot. Stuff does cost a lot, I said, but you are not stuff. He looked at me then. I left the dinner because your dad told me to pay for the family or leave. That was an adult fight. I did not leave you. Are you mad at me? Never for this. Are you mad at Dad? I took a breath. I'm hurt by your dad. I'm also still his father, those can both be true. Caleb nodded like he was storing the sentence somewhere he might need it later. I did not tell him about the agreement. I did not tell him about the screenshots. I did not play the audio. Children deserve the truth in pieces they can carry without becoming adults too soon. When Ryan came back to the table, Caleb asked if he could see my new house someday. Ryan's face changed. He said, we'll talk about it. That was not yes. It was no wearing nicer clothes. Ryan walked me to the parking lot, while Caleb climbed into the back seat. For a moment we stood like two men after a funeral, both unsure which one had died. We need 3 months, Ryan said. No hello, no apology. No dad, that dinner got out of hand.
For what? To reset. The car, the club, Megan's vendor balance. We can work out a smaller number. Put it in writing if you want. 3 months. Then we revisit. I looked through the window at Caleb buckling himself in. He was humming, already somewhere else. You asked me to put things back, I said. Temporarily. No. Ryan's mouth tightened. You're going to let your son sink over pride. You are asking for money, Ryan. Not me. He flinched as if I had raised my hand. I had not. I had only put the word where it belonged. Caleb's direct payments stay, I said. Camp, school-specific things we agree on, paid to the provider. Adult expenses stay with you and Megan. Then visits stay scheduled, he said. If scheduled is what keeps him out of the middle, scheduled is what we do. The next week, the adult accounts found their owners. The caterer sent Megan a payment plan. The club removed the saved family profile from my card permanently. The SUV notice went to Ryan, not to me. Megan's event page went quiet for a few days, then came back with smaller photographs and fewer words about family. Nobody starved. Nobody lost a home. That is important. Consequence is not cruelty just because it has an invoice attached. Ryan sent me one more message about temporary bridge help. I answered once, no adult payments. Child-specific support by direct provider payment only. He did not reply. Caleb sent me a photo from camp of a robot arm holding a paper cup. The caption said, "It spilled but not too bad." That photo went onto paper before I could talk myself out of it. The camp receipt did too, because the first copy had coffee on it. Then I put both on the small shelf in my den where Linda's framed picture already stood. The silver folder sat in a drawer for 3 days before I could look at it without hearing Ryan's chair scrape back. On the 4th day, I opened it at the card table. The agreement was still inside, unsigned, full of soft words built to carry hard bills. I took the pages out and put them in Jonah's packet, then I set the empty folder on the shelf beside Caleb's camp receipt and the robot photo. Empty, it looked almost harmless. That was the lesson I kept coming back to. A thing can look harmless until somebody fills it with your name. I did not get my old Christmas table back. I did not get a son who understood all at once. I did not get Megan's apology, and I stopped waiting for one. What I got was quieter and colder. My house, my card free of their adult life. My grandson paid for directly, and visits that arrived on a calendar instead of through guilt. Some nights that felt like winning. Some nights it felt like buying loneliness at a fairer price. The next Saturday, Caleb came for 2 hours. Ryan dropped him at the porch and did not come in. Caleb brought the spilled cup robot in a plastic box and set it on my card table like a guest. We made grilled cheese, fixed one loose wire, and argued about whether my kitchen light really was ugly. When Ryan picked him up, he did not ask me about money. He only said, "Same time next week." I said yes. Then I closed the door before either of us could turn that yes into something else. That was the new shape of the family. Smaller, scheduled, less warm, more honest. If you listened this far, thank you. Like the story, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments, was Harold too hard on Ryan and Megan? Or was this the only way to stop a family from turning love into a bill?